There are three biblical access points. Number one, covenants. Covenants. Write it down. The first access point that gives Satan legitimate access to the lives of men, sadly including believers, covenants. Please just write it. Number two, ignorance. Ignorance. Number three, disobedience. These are the three biblical access points, and the only access points that Satan has. If you ever find Satan manipulating a life, a destiny, a region, a family, I don't care how long, I don't care how great, believe me when I tell you, it is one or more or all of these access points. Number one, covenants. Number two, disobedience, ignorance. Number three, of the three, the most effective for Satan is covenants. Do you know why? Because covenants have a transgenerational implication. Covenants, ignorance, and disobedience are all interrelated. But covenants seem to be powerful because it is on legal basis. Let me touch on covenants. The idea of covenant was not invented by Satan. The idea of covenant was invented by God. It was God's own intelligence to manage the inconsistencies and to manage the emotional frailty of man. Listen carefully. God gave man a will, and the fallen man by his design is frail with several emotional vacillations. And if man is going to partner with God sustainably, there has to be a way of binding man that is greater than his emotions. Covenants. Because covenant is a non-emotional activity. That means you can't just decide to change it. Anything God wants to do with man that he wants to take seriously, he will tie a covenant to it. My covenant will I not break, nor alter the thing that is gone forth from my lips. You know, believers play with the idea of covenants, and you will see that everything God takes seriously, marriage, he took it seriously and he tied it to a covenant. Do you know why? Because he knows under normal circumstances the couple can run away by the next day. So he put covenant, a non-emotional binding, so that it's not about what you feel or you don't feel. There is an influence that is higher than your emotional vacillations. Salvation is a covenant. Whosoever believes him. If not, there are people who can be so bad they don't deserve to be saved. However, because it is a covenant, whosoever calls upon the name of the Lord, it does not matter who that person is, provided you confess with your heart. Let me tell you, if you are given the keys for salvation, there are people whose level of evil, if you see them, you will tell them, don't near this altar. However, because it is a covenant, whosoever believes in him, even if you are Saul, even if you are Paul, whosoever. The only personalities that salvation does not capture are fallen angels. Salvation is not for angels and non-human spirits. I'll be teaching you the rules of engagement. That is why Satan and demons cannot be forgiven. Salvation is for men. Salvation is for men. The benefit of salvation extends to creation, But animals don't have to give their life to Jesus. They are already under the dominion of man. The same way when Eve ate, nothing happened till Adam ate. That is the same way. What animals and plants do does not matter, provided the man in control is still in touch with God. Are you seeing that now? Animals and seas and all of this only are harsh to man because man had willfully given his authority to Satan. I pray you're getting what I'm teaching you. Covenants are very powerful. Everything that God wants to do with you, if he wants to take you seriously, there will be covenants. Because by the frail nature of men, that's why you hear that there are relationships called covenant relationships, non-emotional. Is that true? When you get a job, watch this. It may not be called covenant, but there is something given to you called an employment letter. Is that true? It clearly spells the terms. You are going to be given 500,000 every month. They calculate it for you per annum. You have 30 days, 1 month leave. You can spread it 3 or 4 times. They give you all of those things and then you sign. The signing is a declaration of your consent that if for any reason I violate these terms, is that true? The company has a right to punish me based on their modus operandi, and that if I comply with these terms, I have a right to take the company to court for defaulting. Covenants. Say covenants. That is the reason why when Satan came to our forefathers, he did not suggest. He called them and said, you want me to help you? Let us have an agreement. Now you see, an altar is simply a system of authorization. Again, we'll discuss that next week when we talk about altars. An altar, because you will see that what we call the mercy seat in heaven, in fact, God himself sits, his throne is an altar, a system of authorization. Let us therefore come before the throne of grace, that we may obtain from that throne. He literally sits on an altar. An altar is a system of authorization. The assignment of an altar is to insist that the terms of a covenant remain binding, even when those who initiated it are no more. An altar is the spiritual system that supervises compliance to covenants. There is no true covenant until there is an altar, and that altar is built and ratified with blood. So that even though our forefathers have long gone, even though those who brought all kinds of demonic things have long gone, but the altars that represent the witness are still there. So after 50 years, 100 years, the spirits have legitimate access to the people within that region. And every time you want to accuse them, they go back and make reference. The altar remains a witness. I am not an illegal occupant in this land. I was willfully invited, and your forefathers, and you were in the loins of your forefathers. That is the reason why the sacrament of the communion and the sacrament of baptisms, these are covenant type things too. How did you get into Christ? It was by the mystery of that covenant. Drink this. This is my blood of the new covenant. Do this as often as you can in remembrance of me.